I never imagined that a breakup could hurt this badly, or that it could completely dismantle my sense of self. I thought I was over him, that I'd moved on. But I was wrong. Very wrong. It started innocuously enough, with a casual text. "We need to talk. Meet me at my place." My stomach twisted. Jason, my ex, hadn't spoken to me in months. And now, suddenly, he wanted to see me? I hesitated, fingers hovering over my phone screen. But curiosity, perhaps pride, won. I replied, "Okay." When I arrived at his apartment, everything felt normal at first. Jason greeted me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Hey," he said casually. "Come in." I stepped inside, heart pounding. The air smelled faintly of his cologne, a scent that used to make my knees weak. "So, what's this about?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He gestured to the couch. "Sit." "I have a proposition." I raised an eyebrow. "A proposition?" Jason smirked, leaning against the wall. "You remember how I said I always wanted the perfect girlfriend? Someone who'd be exactly what I wanted." I frowned. "Yeah, but that's over now. We broke up." He chuckled softly, almost mockingly. "Not for me. And I think you're the perfect candidate to help me achieve it." I froze. My heart thumped in confusion and rising fear. "What do you mean?" Jason pulled out a small velvet box and opened it, revealing a delicate bracelet with an intricate charm. "It's simple. Wear this. Follow my instructions. And you'll become exactly what I want. The perfect girlfriend." I laughed nervously, thinking it was some kind of joke. But when he held the bracelet out, a strange warmth radiated from it, crawling up my arm and settling in my chest. I gasped. My body felt different. Softer, lighter, smaller. My hair itched as if it were growing longer, my features shifting subtly in the reflection of his mirror across the room. Jason's eyes gleamed. "It works." The first night I wore the bracelet, I hardly recognized myself. My reflection in the mirror looked polished, beautiful, and unnervingly like someone else. My face, my curves, even my voice had changed to fit his ideal image. Panic surged, and I tried to pull the bracelet off, but it clung to my wrist as if it had fused with my skin. I can't. I don't understand." I stammered, my voice higher than I expected. Jason smiled, almost gently. "Relax. This is just the start. You'll get used to it. And the more you follow my instructions, the more perfect you become." I felt trapped. I tried to argue, to refuse, but the bracelet pulsed lightly, sending subtle reminders that compliance was not optional. The next days were surreal. At school, at work, even at home, I couldn't escape the changes. My hair fell in soft waves, perfectly styled without effort. My makeup seemed flawless, even though I didn't apply any. Clothes fit me in ways that seemed tailored just for Jason's vision of me. And every time I spoke, my voice carried a warmth and charm that drew attention wherever I went. Friends whispered. Colleagues stared. Some complimented me, some gossiped. I felt exposed, scrutinized, yet strangely compelled to continue. I began to notice a shift inside me too, subtle behaviors, gestures, postures, expressions I hadn't realized I could control were now instinctive. I was becoming perfect, but not on my terms. Lisa, my best friend, pulled me aside one afternoon. "Jamie, what's going on? You're different. Everyone's talking." "I know," I admitted, gripping the strap of my bag so tightly it hurt. "It's complicated. Jason, it's like he's changing me." Her eyes widened. "Changing you? How?" I swallowed hard. "I don't know how to explain it. I look different, act different. I feel different. It's like I'm not even me anymore." She shook her head slowly. "You need to fight this. Don't let him control you." I wanted to agree, I wanted to fight, but deep down, a part of me was terrified. What if I couldn't? What if I truly became the version of me he wanted? In private, I began experimenting. I studied the reflection in the mirror, traced the curves of my new body, practiced the way my hair fell over my shoulders, adjusted my posture, and experimented with subtle gestures and expressions. Each day brought new changes, a slightly higher voice, a softer gait, a tilt of the head that drew attention. And with each small experiment, I noticed something startling. I was enjoying it. The thrill of attention, the power of presence, the subtle control I could exert over the way people saw me, it was intoxicating. Fear and embarrassment intertwined with curiosity and excitement. One afternoon, I tried stepping out to a cafe alone, fully in the transformation. Every glance felt like a test. People smiled, some stared, and a stranger even complimented my dress. My heart raced, not with panic, but with an unfamiliar confidence. I realized I could navigate this new identity, experiment publicly, and learn how to command attention. Jason noticed. "See? You're learning," he said one evening as I returned home, flushed from the outing. "The more you embrace it, the more perfect you become." I laughed nervously. I think I'm starting to understand it. It's scary, but thrilling." "That's the point," he replied, eyes gleaming. "Perfection is power, Jamie. And now, it's yours to wield." Weeks passed, and my transformation deepened. Every outfit, every gesture, every interaction reinforced the changes. Friends whispered, strangers stared, and colleagues complimented. I moved through the world differently, gracefully, confidently, and with a subtle charm I hadn't possessed before. Yet the fear never completely vanished. I still worried about being discovered, about the bracelet's control, about losing myself completely. But each success, each compliment, each small victory reinforced a growing realization. I was stronger than I knew. I could navigate this world in ways I had never imagined. And then came the ultimate challenge, a party Jason hosted, full of his friends, acquaintances, and people who knew me before the transformation. Panic surged as I dressed carefully, applied makeup, and styled my hair according to his instructions. I felt the bracelet pulse gently on my wrist, reminding me of the control it still had. At the party, every eye fell on me. Whispers floated around, some admiring, some judgmental. Old friends gasped, strangers smiled, and Jason's eyes never left mine. My heart raced. I wanted to hide, to flee, but instead, I walked forward, head held high, body moving with a confidence I hadn't known existed. Every step, every laugh, every word became an experiment in presence. People were drawn to me, complimenting, smiling, and watching intently. I realized in that moment that I wasn't just Jason's perfect girlfriend. I was someone people respected, admired, and noticed. Not because of him, but because of the person I had discovered in the process. Confrontation came unexpectedly. One of Jason's friends cornered me, curiosity and suspicion written across his face. "Wait, Jamie? Is this really you?" I froze, heart pounding. For a moment, panic returned. But then I realized, I didn't need to hide. I didn't need to be anyone other than who I had become. I smiled, subtly tilted my head, and replied confidently, "Yes. It's me. And I'm enjoying myself." The friend blinked, processing, then nodded slowly, a hint of admiration in his eyes. Relief washed over me. I had faced exposure, and survived. Better yet, I had thrived. By the end of the night, I had made a crucial choice. I would no longer allow Jason, or anyone, to dictate who I was. The bracelet might have started this transformation, but I was the one who would define its direction. I embraced the changes fully, blending the thrill of attention with the empowerment of choice. I was no longer simply Jason's perfect girlfriend. I was myself, confident, daring, and unapologetically present. Even Jason noticed the shift. You've changed," he said, a mix of surprise and admiration in his voice. "You're perfect." I smiled, a mix of defiance and pride. "Not for you," I said softly. "For me." Life after that night was different. I explored fashion, beauty, and social interactions with freedom and confidence. I participated in events, joined new social circles, and navigated relationships on my own terms. Compliments, smiles, and admiring glances became reminders of my strength and adaptability. The bracelet had forced me into a transformation, but it had also revealed courage, confidence, and self-awareness I had never known. I had discovered an identity I could inhabit authentically, boldly, and proudly. Even small victories, walking past a mirror and smiling at my reflection, receiving an unexpected compliment, or navigating a social situation gracefully, reminded me of my journey. I had faced fear, submission, and uncertainty, and emerged empowered. I was no longer Jason's pawn. I was a person who had taken control of a situation designed to manipulate me and transformed it into a path of self-discovery. I had learned to embrace attention, command presence, and define myself on my own terms. The bracelet, once a symbol of control, had become a mirror reflecting my strength. What Jason had intended as revenge had inadvertently forged me into a version of myself I could be proud of. And now, standing before the mirror, dressed, confident, and smiling, I realized something profound. Transformation is not just about appearance, it's about courage, choice, and the power to own who you truly are. I had been forced to become someone else, but in the process, I had discovered the perfect version of me. And that version? Unstoppable. This script is continuous, immersive, emotionally intense, and YouTube-ready for narration. It follows the full emotional arc: shock, fear, experimentation, growth, confrontation, empowerment, reflective ending. The first few days after the bracelet fully activated were disorienting. Every reflection startled me. Mirrors, windows, even my phone screen revealed a face that wasn't mine. Or at least, not the one I recognized. My body had softened, curves I hadn't had before appeared, and my hair fell in waves that seemed perfectly styled without any effort. Even my voice carried a lilt that felt foreign and feminine. I tried to avoid people as much as possible, staying holed up in my room. But the curiosity, this strange, irresistible curiosity, kept pulling me toward mirrors, toward my reflection, toward the possibility of exploring this new self. I experimented with subtle gestures at first, brushing my hair back, tilting my head in ways I remembered my sister or other girls doing, practicing smiles that weren't forced. Every movement felt awkward, alien, but also exciting. Clothing became my next frontier. I rummaged through Jason's closet. He had left some of my old clothes there, and then hesitated before trying on a dress he had suggested. Sliding it over my head, the fabric hugged my new curves, accentuating my transformed body. I stumbled, balanced precariously on my toes as I studied myself in the mirror. My reflection looked beautiful. Perfectly feminine, undeniably alluring. Panic bubbled up. I wasn't ready for this level of change, but alongside it was a thrill I couldn't deny. I spent hours experimenting with hairstyles, brushing my hair, testing different ways to let it fall around my shoulders. Each tiny adjustment brought subtle changes in how I perceived myself. My reflection began to feel less alien. I began to practice voice modulation, mimicking the melodic lilt Jason had seemed to desire. I whispered phrases to myself, listening intently as the sound floated back, soft, enticing, almost hypnotic. Lisa called one afternoon, sensing something was off. "Jamie, you sound different," she said, concern clear in her tone. I admitted, voice shaking slightly. "I don't know what's happening. Jason, he gave me this bracelet. And now, I feel like I'm turning into someone else. But it's also kind of amazing." She paused. "Kind of amazing? Jamie, this sounds dangerous. You need to be careful. Don't lose yourself." Her words echoed in my mind as I continued my experiments. I tried stepping outside, walking down the block in a skirt and blouse I had pieced together from my own wardrobe and some of Jason's hints. The world reacted differently. People stared, smiled, whispered. Each glance felt like a test, but instead of retreating, I forced myself to walk taller, tilt my head, and allow the transformation to flow naturally. The first real encounter happened at a corner cafe. A stranger complimented my outfit, another smiled knowingly. The attention, which I had feared, became exhilarating. I realized that this new persona, this perfect girlfriend version Jason wanted, wasn't just a trap. It was a lens through which I could discover power I hadn't known existed. Jason noticed my small victories. That evening, when I returned home, he smiled knowingly. "See? You're learning," he said. "The more you embrace it, the more perfect you become." I laughed nervously, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. I think I'm starting to understand it. It's scary but thrilling." "That's the point," he replied, his eyes glinting. "Perfection is power. And now, it's yours to wield." School became my next testing ground. Every hallway, every classroom, every interaction was an opportunity to practice. I adjusted my posture subtly, letting my shoulders relax, my hips sway naturally, and my hands move with fluidity. Friends whispered, classmates stared. And yet, I began to feel a strange sense of control. Each compliment, each smile, Each lingering glance fueled a growing confidence I hadn't anticipated. Lisa pulled me aside after a particularly long day. "Jamie, or Mia, or whatever you want to be called now, you're changing. You look amazing. But are you sure you're okay with all of this?" I nodded slowly. "I don't know if I'm okay, but I feel powerful. And I think I'm learning who I can be when I embrace it." Her smile was cautious but approving. "Just don't lose yourself completely. Remember who you are inside." I promised myself I wouldn't forget, even as I experimented further. I attended small gatherings, subtly testing reactions, and practicing my new persona in public. Each successful interaction reinforced my growing confidence. I was beginning to understand that this wasn't just about Jason's idea of perfection, it was about discovering dimensions of myself I had never explored. Then came the true test, a weekend party Jason had organized, inviting friends, acquaintances, and even some people from my past. My heart thumped as I dressed carefully, applied makeup meticulously, and styled my hair in waves that framed my face perfectly. The bracelet pulsed lightly on my wrist, a constant reminder of the control it exerted, and the potential I now had to assert my own. At the party, the eyes of everyone in the room followed me. Whispers circulated, some admiring, some questioning. Old friends gasped, strangers smiled, and Jason's gaze never left me. My instinct screamed to hide, to run, but instead, I walked forward, letting my presence fill the room. Every step, every laugh, every tilt of the head became a declaration of self-possession. People were drawn to me, complimenting, smiling, engaging. I realized in that moment that I was no longer merely Jason's creation. I was my own person, learning to navigate attention, charm, and admiration on my terms. One awkward confrontation emerged when a classmate recognized me from before the transformation. His eyes widened. "Wait, Jamie? Is that really you?" I froze, panic threatening to overwhelm me. But then a strange calm settled in. I smiled, a subtle tilt of the head, and said confidently, "Yes, it's me. And I'm enjoying myself." He blinked, unsure how to react, then nodded slowly. I had faced potential exposure, and emerged empowered. The days that followed were transformative in every sense. I began embracing the changes fully, experimenting boldly with fashion, makeup, and social interaction. I navigated friendships, school, and public spaces with a confidence I hadn't known I possessed. Each small victory, receiving a compliment, walking past a mirror and smiling, engaging strangers successfully, reinforced the reality that the bracelet might have started this transformation, but I was defining it now. Even Jason noticed. You've changed," he said one evening, a mix of surprise and admiration in his voice. "You're perfect." I smiled, a mix of pride and defiance. "Not for you," I said softly. "For me." From that moment, the dynamic shifted. The bracelet, once a symbol of control, became a reflection of my own power. What Jason had intended as revenge had inadvertently forged me into someone stronger, bolder, and self-assured. I had been forced to become someone else, but in the process, I had discovered the version of myself I had always wanted to be, confident, commanding, and unapologetically visible.